my how selective certain people's memories can be, and how selective favoritism can be, right? So this is, of course, the Lone Wolf Podcast, if you just found the channel. Just to give any potential new viewers a heads up, I don't play partisan politics. I call it like I see it. I shoot straight. Am I going to be right on everything? No. But at least you're going to get an honest independence point of view from me. Those of you who already have been to this channel, well, you've come to know that at this point. Again, you may not agree with everything that I say, but you know I'm going to call it like I see it. No matter who I may end up on opposite sides of the table from. Okay? In this particular instance, I'm on the opposite side of a guy. I kind of watched his content for quite a few years before I started my own YouTube channel. The host of Secular Talk decided to run a segment. That's right, good old Kyle Kalinske decided to run a segment talking about Man Bundy. Now, Man Bundy, for those of you who don't know, is the son of Cliven Bundy. Some of you may have already seen Kyle's clip, so you've seen a little bit about him, right? And so apparently Man Bundy is helping the cause of defunding the police, talking about how Black Lives Matter is the right thing that should happen, and Kyle pretty much sang his praises and talked about what a principled man that Man Bundy was. Now, I get what he meant by the principled man comment, right? He's talking about the fact that Man Bundy's saying we should be defunding the police just like we should be defunding the rest of the government because he's a heavy right-winger, and right-wingers believe that we need smaller government. A lot of libertarians do as well, right? So he's saying he's a principled guy because he's sticking to his ideas across the board. What a swell guy, Man Bundy. So let's recap. Where did the Bundy family get their fame from? Where did they become known from? So a few years ago, I think it was 2014, there was this thing known as the Bundy standoff. A couple of, ranchers or whatever the term you want to use for the Bundy family was, that they owned cattle. Apparently it was, grazing on government land. There was a big financial dispute. They had a big standoff, took control of government building, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And they had a lot of support from the right wing when they did it. Now, if you've seen Kyle's video, you're saying, okay, broken record, I've already heard this. What are you bringing to the equation? Why are you talking about this? We heard this the other day on his show. Because there's some things that were left out of the conversation. Very important things, I might note. So, why is Cliven Bundy, the father of the family here, the old man in charge at the helm of this, why have you not really heard much else about the Bundy family? I mean, well, some might say maybe they just trickled out. It wasn't that big a deal, blah, 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 blah. Well, wait a minute. Bunch of ranching cowboys here, okay? Seems to me that kind of fits a good mold for the Republican Party, right? I mean, they're old, rednecks wearing cowboy hats. And so why wouldn't they be trotting them out on stage every chance they got, right? Well, good reason for that. Because old man Bundy, good old Cliven, was caught defending slavery. And immediately after he did, all those people supporting him scattered. Well, why wouldn't they? That's terrible PR. Who wants to be associated with the guy who said that blacks were better off when they were slaves? And if that's not the exact words he used something very close to it. If you don't believe me, look it up. He said that black people were better off when they were slaves. That is terrible for anyone to say. But he said it. That's Amon's daddy. Now, I know some people are going to say, well, you can't. We all got family we're ashamed of, right? And blah, 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 blah. And shouldn't have been said. So where was Man Bundy's, voice when that happened? If he supports Black Lives Matter, why wasn't he speaking up when his dad shoved his foot down his throat? Not in his mouth, down his throat. Remember, I have a remedy for getting things like that out. Keep it on hand for the old car parts sometime. Good old Valvoline automotive and industrial grease. Cliven needed some on that particular occasion because it was shoved pretty far down his throat. But where was Eamon at? Where was the defense? Why, or excuse me, where was the criticism of his daddy? Why wasn't he there if he's such a advocate for the rights of black people speaking out about it? He wasn't. He said not a thing. Not nothing that I've been able to find anyway. So, what's my point here? You're gonna trot a guy out here because he's now on a social media feed defending what you like. So you're just gonna pull sources from anywhere possible just because they say they agree with you and trot them out here and sing their praises like they're great Americans for taking such a principled stance. Yet it was only just a couple of years ago this guy's family, or at least his dad anyway, was defending the concept of slavery. And even if we're going to be generous and say that his son didn't have a similar view, he was certainly silent. There was nothing but crickets. He didn't say one word in a criticism. So, how exactly is this the guy you think is fit to be trotted out there as a prime example of right-wing people being true to their word and why we should really defund the police and support Black Lives Matter when the son of the guy who just defended racism is your source? I don't know that I would have been so quick to jump on that train there, Kyle. Kind of makes it look like you're willing to just grab anyone who agrees with you no matter what else they've said just to trot them out there and say, see, ha, ha, they agree with my stance. They agree with us lefties. So we've got the right thing and we've got the right ideas. If that's who you've got backing you up, I don't know that you got the right idea, because clearly the Bundys are a bunch of delusional nuts. So if they're agreeing with you, kind of makes me feel like I'm the more intelligent one when I don't agree with you, because the nut job whose daddy defended slavery, that's who agreed with you. So that makes me feel very comfortable when I say I don't support what you're calling for. Makes me feel a lot better now. Moving on, cover one more thing for this video. While we were talking about Black Lives Matter, good old Bill de Blasio, the New York mayor. There's a lot of things I could say about South Carolina politicians, but as bad as they are, I would just like to say for the record, thank God that I don't live in the same state where I am governed or my mayor is Bill de Blasio. Thank God he is not my mayor, because, whew, I would have to move if I had to live in a city with that guy in charge. But as it turns out, he's being sued. Yeah, he's being sued by a right-wing women's group. And why? Because they wanted to have a mural painted on the streets, if I'm not mistaken, just like the one for Black Lives Matter out front of Trump Tower or whatever, right? So they wanted this, and New York City said no. Bill de Blasio said no. They're being sued. You know why? Because it turns out there was actually no permit given to paint the Black Lives Matter mural that is on the streets right now. So they didn't actually even follow the law to put this thing down. So the town and city hall permitted something to happen to the streets that there was no permit given for. So they enabled someone to basically put, whether you like what I'm about to say or not, that's what it is, because there was no permit given for it to be put there, graffiti on the street, but they're denying someone else the right to do so, which now becomes a constitutional issue because the government is completely showing favoritism. They're telling one group it's perfectly fine to go outside the boundaries of the law and paint something on a public road, but you, even though you're applying legally, can't. So I don't know how the courts are going to rule on this, but there's certainly a case to be made there. And what's Bill de Blasio's remarks to all of this? That the moment called for this to be done. And that because of what's going on, what was his wording? Something along the lines of, we can't follow the societal norms or whatever. Like, the normal rules can't apply right now. Oh, so normal law is just thrown out the window. So, again, you're now admitting to us you're putting one group above the law. They don't have to adhere to the law. They just do whatever they want. And because the times are calling for it, you're just going to look the other way. So what am I gathering from this? Sounds like what I've been saying for weeks and weeks and weeks becomes more and more and more true. And I'm aware there's going to be more, maybe not more and more people, but the same folks who are going to sit there and tell me again, I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and it ain't that big of a deal, and maybe we should be doing things like this. Maybe it helps people feel better at night and sleep better when they close their eyes and feel better about a country that just dumps all over all colors, really, but whatever, okay? The same argument's going to be made. I already know it's coming, but I've been telling you, the more laws you're allowed to break, the farther it's going to go. And here we are, politicians, once again, trying to win those brownie points with certain voters, telling us, yeah, I'm going to allow them to break the law because the times are calling for it, so we'll let them be above the law and blah, blah, blah. Huh. Okay. That aside, I've been saying this is just going to create slippery slope. I'm still saying that. But let me focus on one other thing here for just a moment. This whole thing about the times calling for it. So, New York took some money away from the police budget. They allowed it a mural to be painted on the streets, right? And here's what I want to know. When is something that actually matters gonna start being done in that city? Because what I want to know is how many people who were arrested for nonviolent offenses did that mural get out of jail? How many people are living in complete poverty did that mural help? How many kids are going into schools where they're not really being taught a good education anymore because we fall into like 27th in the world for our education practices, and New York just dumps out money hand over fist, yet can't seem to fix the problem? I want to see what Bill de Blasio actually does now that really makes a difference, because you know what this looks like to me? It looks like more of, to me, exactly what I said would happen when Democrats win and these riots subside. They will give you the most superficial things possible to shut you up, calm you down, tide you over, until they need your vote again the next time around. Then they'll stoke the fire. They'll try to piss you off. They'll get CNN and everyone else to go along with it and promote exactly what they want people in the masses to hear, to stoke that fire, to stoke that outrage, to pour gas on top of the blaze and get it even hotter. And then, again, give you these superficial actions that change nothing in the communities, but they think can win your vote because it looks like they care. Here's the question. How many people are going to be, blind enough to keep falling for this time after time after time? Because as I said, that's what would start happening. Well, that's exactly what's been happening. So if you keep voting Democrats, just keep expecting nothing to change.